Hi everyone, good evening or good day if you are in a different time zone, and welcome to the presentation of the third quarter 2018 reports. This year with me is Stian Dragseth, CFO, and myself, Rui Kazaj, the CEO of Funcom. So we switch to the slides, much more interesting than our faces. But yes, as you might have seen already, the third quarter 2018 was a good quarter. We have had the highest EBITDA margin in Funcom history, 62%. Higher revenue in the third quarter this year than third quarter last year. The third quarter last year had significant launches such as Secret World Legends and Conan Exiles on Xbox One game preview. But still, this quarter did better than that. Last year's annual profit has been beaten already after third quarter this year, which of course is something we are very happy with. And why is this? Well, third quarter results were driven mostly by Conan Exiles, especially by the strong performance of the game in Japan on PlayStation 4 with our partner Spike Chunsoft, and a couple of other things, but they were mostly driven by Conan Exiles. We are also, as an activity after the quarter, become debt-free. So we had around $500,000 of debt remaining, convertible debt that has been converted. So we are now debt-free for the first time in many, many years. And we have a very strong cash balance, which we're very happy with. We have a good pipeline, 6 projects. We'll talk a bit more about them in the next few slides. And of course, our most important activity in the coming months, Mutant Year Zero Road to Eden, is launching in a month, on December 4th. And the demo made available to those who pre-order was made available today. So for anyone that pre-orders on PC, they can go and start playing that demo. So we're very happy with the results of this quarter. Of course, it shows that our plan and strategy is working. And Stian can take you through the numbers.
Sure, yeah. So here we see, as Rui said, it was a very strong quarter. Revenues 7.5 is 25% better than the quarter in 2017, third quarter 17. And then despite 2 launches in that quarter. And this quarter had the Japan launch only of Conan Exiles. So that's a good start. On the profits, we see both EBITDA, EBIT and profit pre-tax are significantly higher than 3Q last year, between 150 and 200%. So we also we didn't just get good revenues, but we're also keeping cost contained in the quarter. And on the cash, we are at 20.9 million. That's the highest since 2010. On equity, we are 44.6 million. So you see it's a 176% increase from last year. It's driven by profits, it's driven by the Robur private placement and the conversion of debt, which brings, as to the last point, the debt is 0.6 on the table here, but that's because the conversion happened just after the quarter. But the key is, as we pointed out, we are now debt-free, which we are very happy about. It's been many years with debt, and at some point there were $15 million of debt, but now all of it is gone, so we are debt-free. And being a gaming company, of course, we like records and setting all-time highs.
Leaderboards.
So and also financial ones, of course. So this slide compares year-to-date figures. So the sum of Q1, Q2, and Q3, and it compares it to last year-to-date, but also last full year numbers. And you see revenue 25.4 year-to-date 18 versus 23.2 full year last year. And 2017 was the most profitable year in Funcom history. So we're very happy that already after Q3 that record is beaten. So the EBITDA is 13 versus 9.9 of full year 17. And also EBIT and profit pre-tax are higher than full year 17 numbers. And cash, equity and debt we covered on the last page.
Yeah, so of course we won't comment on the full year numbers for this year, but this is clearly very promising to say. So we can clearly say that 2018 will be a good year, considering that we have beaten last year's full numbers with 4 quarters with this year's 3 quarters. And revenue, is not going to decrease after the 4th quarter, especially with Mutant launching. So that bodes well.
Yeah, so we don't give any guiding, but of course Q4 with Mutant hopefully will also be a good quarter.
Yeah.
And here we see a bit more history, but the key takeaway is the white line, the EBITDA margin, that is 62% in 3rd quarter 18. And we see that's just above the EBITDA margin in Q1 last year when there was early access Conan Exiles launch. Yeah, and 62% EBITDA margin, that's something we can live with.
Yeah. And for those of you that might not understand what it means, you can see that the 2nd quarter the revenue was double of the revenue in the 3rd quarter, but the margin in the 3rd quarter was still higher. That means that in terms of costs, the costs were lower. So we managed to not only preserve the margin but increase it. In the 2nd quarter there are many launch-related costs and all kinds of costs that are go in there. So it shows that not only we had good revenue, but like Stian mentioned earlier, we have control on the cost level.
And going forward also, we'll revisit the strategy, but having externally developed games is one way to also keep the fixed cost level low. So of course we'll invest into the games, but then it's more a game per game investment decision. But there's one more point which comes out from here, and you see all the blue bars, they are on top of the line, they're positive. So we've had now 9 consecutive quarters of positive EBITDA, which is a good trend. And yeah, well, everything we do with the strategy is to make the company more solid, to be able to create better games and keep more stable financials going forward.
Yeah, stable and growing. That's how we want to.
Definitely.
Stably growing.
Growing is an important part of it, that's for sure. And this is a great slide where we see also some history where I mentioned the debt was 15 million some time ago. Now it is officially 0 from 4th of October. And cash has had a very nice increase over the period, starting at 1 million in 2016 and then ending up now at 20.9 million. So that's a development we like.
Absolutely. Then in terms of the strategy, the company strategy, we've talked about this before, but we wanted to go through it once more. You see here on the right, we have the global aspects of our strategy. We focus on games that have premium business model with additional monetization in some form. That depends very much on the game. So for new games, that is what we work with. They are games that have 1 to 2 years of full production. There are also other stages like concepting and pre-production come before that. When a game enters pre-production, it's there for 1 to 2 years. We distribute globally in the Western world directly, and other regions we distribute with partners, like for example in Japan with Spike Chunsoft on Conan Exiles. And for platforms, we are focus ourselves on PC and consoles, so PC, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Switch. And for IP licensees, in the case of Heroic Signatures and things like that, we work with licensees on all platforms. So that can be mobile, it can be VR, it can be anything that we don't necessarily work with ourselves. Then going more on the 4 pillars of the strategy, we have the intellectual property licenses that I just mentioned, be it the Heroic Signatures, Conan, and the other IPs in there like Mutant, Conan, Solomon Kane, Call of Atlantis, Cult, Chronopia, etc. But also the Funcom IPs like Anarchy Online, The Longest Journey, and The Secret World. We have 1 to 4. The objective is to get to 1 to 4 editions per year. So this would be new intellectual property deals per year. They have a very low investment. These are not games that we invest in. We license the rights to utilize the IP to third parties. And because the investment is very low, the margin is very high, even if the margin in absolute terms isn't a lot of money. In relative terms, in terms of return on investment, it's quite high. It gives us a strategic value that we control IP for our games as well. We create more value on those IPs, so the IPs grow in size and in value, and it gives us additional revenue sources. On the publishing side, the new publishing games, we have the stated goal of 2 to 3 new of those per year. Investment size is low to medium sized. The margin is medium. We share the investment with other parties, and that means we also share the revenue. So the upside is lower, but it allows us to get, on a strategic level, more frequent releases, low fixed employee cost impact, meaning we don't have as many employees on staff. We work with studios that have their own employees, and we work with them on a game, hopefully many games, but it's not a permanent employee fixed cost for us. And it allows us to find long-term partners, because that's what we really want to do, is to work with people for a long time and foster those relationships. On the internal games, the goal is to have one such game per year. They are larger investments. They are our largest investments, mid to large. The margin is high. They have a large upside, and they allow us to build and leverage our competitive advantages, be it on technology, on IPs, on personnel and experience, on PR and marketing. Of course, we can leverage even better the internal games, all that. And finally, the games in operation and back catalog. These are both the games we consider that we operate, like Anarchy Online, Age of Conan, Secret World, and Conan Exiles. They're games that are out there. They are being commercialized, but we also have people that work on them and provide a service. But they are also games that are back catalog. The Park, The Longest Journey, Dreamfall, they're games that are not a service. They are just there, they're being sold, and people can buy them, but we do not have employees attached to them. On those games, the investment size are low, of course, because they are not at the full team development team size, and the margin is high based on the fact that the biggest portion of the investment has been done in the past already. They give us a baseline contribution to our cash line, so they bring money every month, which is very important. They maintain the value of the IP and develop community, and developing the community and strengthening the community is important for future games. So this should provide an overview over our strategy that we've been having into place for a few years now. That takes a while to get going and really roll it out, and we see that now with Mutant being the first of the published games under this strategy coming out, we will really start the ball rolling on it. Don't know if I forgot anything.
No, I think that's a very, very good summary. And then, yeah, as you say, we'll get more and more games into the games in operation and back catalog pillar. And then, yeah, we will have more and more stable cash flow, because we're now growing the number of games significantly.
Yeah. So if we have around I don't know, 7-8 games that we would have in operation back catalog now, then after Mutant, that's one more, and then after the Petroglyph game, that's another, and then after the Rock Pocket game, it's another. So we keep on adding, and these games they will not just stay there idly. We will try to continue doing partnerships, putting them in different territories, different stores, and things like that to keep them contributing to the baseline. In terms of game activities, during and after the third quarter, our 4 main games that we are operating, like I mentioned, had the following. So Conan Exiles had the Japanese PlayStation 4 launch and a second DLC during the quarter, and after the quarter it had the Pets update, a free update to keep players engaged, together with the third DLC being released. There was also a Halloween event. So these events, all events on all 4 games are designed to keep players engaged in the games and provide players with something fun and interesting to do. We might launch, to connect it with events, some paid service of some kind. Depending on the game, it can be a DLC, it can be a loot box, it can be a cosmetic item. It depends what we do, but the overall plan is that we want to keep the community engaged. We want to keep the games alive. We want to keep players playing. At the end of the day, that's better for the players because they have something fun to do, and it's better for us because more players playing means they attract more people, they bring friends, we end up buying DLCs, and that's what the business is about. So that was on Conan Exiles. Secret World Legends had several events: an anniversary, an Equinox event, Halloween event. Anarchy Online had also event-related content and a Halloween event. And Age of Conan had a summer PvP event and had the launch of the Saga of Blood server, which is like the Saga of Zath, but for on a more PvP setting and with some other tweaks. So that Saga of Blood server is still going, and it's good to see players going in there and playing. Yes, and in terms of pipeline, what is it that we have going forward? We've talked a bit about it, but we have 6 games in the pipeline. These are games that are different stages of production. Mutant Year Zero Road to Eden. Actually, Mutant Year Zero Road to Eden. I know. I have to come dressed properly. So that means
it is a big day. So I hope if you haven't already tried out the game, you know what to do after this presentation, right?
Yeah.
First day you can
go pre-order and start playing. I don't think we are the right people to start trying to sell on the call, but hey, why not? No, the game is looking really good. You can see it for yourself. I love playing XCOM type games and strategy games, so it's I'm very much the target audience for this game. It's launching in a month on December 4th. It is in the final stages. I'll talk a bit more about it in the next slide. Then on the Petroglyph Game, this over here, we haven't said much about the game. We said it's a game with a Conan IP, and we said that it's coming out for next year on PC. So it's a game that is scheduled for the second quarter of next year. It is in full production. It is going well, and we plan to do the full reveal of the game this year, so before the end of the year. It's looking really good, so I'm excited about that as well. It's also a type of game that I like to play. Aren't they all? Yeah, they kind of all are. So it's the next one is the game with Rock Pocket Games. It's a game that we haven't spoken much about either. It's top secret, lots of top secret here. We have said it's with a Funcom IP, and we said that it was for the second half of the year. We're saying that it will be around Halloween season next year. It's a PC and console game, and it's in full production. By the way, Mutant Year Zero is our first simultaneous PC, Xbox, PlayStation launch, so we're quite excited about that as well. Then these 3 games on the top are games that we are publishing. We work closely with developers, but we are the publisher. While the 3 bottom games are games that we are developing internally. The game over here is a game that's being developed by Funcom Inc. in our North Carolina studio. And it's a game with Heroic Signatures IP. It's a co-op multiplayer shooter game. It is in full production. It is PC console launch. We haven't set a release timeline yet. That will be when it's ready. We will talk about it. Then we also talked about last quarter that we have a Conan single player game being made here in Oslo. The Oslo team is the team that did Conan Exiles, and it's a team that's of course has a lot of experience with Conan. So they're taking that experience and they are in pre-production for that Conan game. It's something that we've heard for many years, that people didn't want to just play a character in the world of Conan, like in Age of Conan or Conan Exiles. They also would like to play as Conan, and there hasn't been a game like that for a while. So this will be a game where you play as Conan. Pretty cool. And finally, the game that is still in the early stages, it's in the concepting phase before pre-production, is a game that we haven't set an IP to yet. It's an open world multiplayer game, PC console, that will be developed here in Oslo. Mutant Year Zero Road to Eden. There was a version of the game. The game has been shown to press at events. The press has been very positive about it. There was a demo that was given to the press last week for preview reasons, and the previews have been quite positive. People see that it's challenging. People see that it's fun. People see that it's a different take. It's we refer to the game a lot as being XCOM-like, and while it is in a game that combat is very much the tactical turn-based formula that the remakes of XCOM have made, the overall game is a different experience. It's a blend between an adventure game and a tactical strategy game. So it's an interesting combination that I quite like. We are also giving access to players now, as we mentioned. You can go pre-order the game on mutantyear0.com, and if you pre-order, you get access to the demo. And of course, as a launch phase is happening, there's a marketing push. There will be advertising. There will be PR. There will be influencers, streamers to getting access to the game. and we are going to try to get as much attention on it as possible. We got a very good amount of attention with the CGI trailer, of course, and the concept of the game, and we'll try to keep that hype high so that we reach as many players as possible for launch. So, in summary, third quarter 2018 was really good. Highest EBITDA margin in Funcom's history. The last year's annual profit record has already been beaten, and Conan Exiles is the main driving force in this quarter. We're debt free, we have a strong cash position, we have a promising pipeline, and a great game launching in a month. So things could be worse. Now, that said, there are good quarters and weaker quarters. You know, sometimes they are stronger, sometimes they are weaker. Depends what happens. If you launch a game, if you don't launch a game. This is clearly one of the better quarters, and we want to have many like that. But there's always ups and downs.
So the strategy that we've put together and just communicated, of course, makes a lot of steps to reduce the variations. But yes, gaming being an industry with variations, of course, results will vary from quarter to quarter.
Yes, we are in the early stages still of. We've done the turnaround of the company. We were in a tough spot. That's not the case anymore. But the real, like I mentioned earlier, the ball will really get rolling as these publishing games and other games start being released, and we start having the back catalog providing the revenue streams that then really propel us forward. That's very important. It's time for questions. I know some of you have already been putting questions in the chat. We were trying to keeping these streams a bit shorter than usual. They were getting a bit too long. So we'll do 10 minutes of questions. First question is for you, Stian.
Yeah, so this question about depreciation and amortization has been increasing. And that is because we invest in more games. And the way it works is before we invest, it is capitalized. Sorry, before the game is launched, it is capitalized. And at launch, we start to amortize that capitalized cost. So the more games we launch, the more amortizations that there will be over time. So Conan Exiles was started in early access being amortized, and Mutant will start whenever that game launches. That's just a standard procedure in gaming business. Whenever a game launches, there's amortization of that game.
Yep. There's a question regarding if we have put to rest any considerations in terms of dual listing. I think that has been asked before. We don't have any plans to dual list. Dual listing is complicated. We need to abide to multiple stock notices and stock exchanges, and that's a lot of overhead for the corporate layer of the company. So we've looked into it. We don't have any plans for it. Specifically for dual listing, but we are evaluating always the different stock markets and the right place to be, but those are not simple decisions. They have a lot of ramifications, so there are no concrete plans on any of that.
And we see that Swedish investors, Swedish being of course Sweden being a relevant market as it's very big for gaming, they find it attractive to invest in us during the Oslo Stock Exchange also, and we see apart from our majority owner, the rest of the shareholders are roughly roughly split between Norway and Sweden.
We need to speed up, if not we're not going to answer. The questions are just pouring. What do you think about the current state of Conan Exiles and how many more big updates will be delivered? The team on Conan Exiles is working very hard on getting the game to not have some of the critical bugs and problems it has. So bug fixing is clearly the focus. The updates, in terms of big updates, they are not the priority. The priority is to get the game to a good baseline position that then we can jump from by doing be it through sales and promotions, through free weekends, through other activities to get the gamers to come into the game and stay. The game has a massive appeal, but it suffers from bugs at a level that we are not happy with, so we're focusing very much on that. There's a question about the AO IP. Of course there is. I'm sure people in the chat, we're not looking at chat directly, but I'm sure people are talking about AO too. We do want to use the AO IP, but as I said before, it has to be the right game. And right now we don't have anything concrete. Do we discuss the AO IP when we're talking about games? Yes, that's what I can say. Which games are coming on Switch? Well, if we had that information ready, it would have been in the presentation. So the fact that we mentioned Switch means that yes, we are considering Switch for all the relevant games. What's the plan with Age of Conan? Age of Conan is being actively developed for. We had Saga of Blood right now, and there will be more events, and we'll keep the community engaged on all the MMOs, not just Age of Conan. Will we see dividends from Q1 2019? The supervisory board has not put in place any dividend plan. It doesn't mean that there can't be, but there are no plans for it right now. Someone here is very excited about the Petroglyph game. I'm also very excited about the Petroglyph game. No, we cannot reveal anything now. It would spoil the review. And we, when it comes to game reveals, we prioritize having a reveal that will get the most gaming press and gamer attention. So if we keep things a bit under wraps, is in order to make sure that when we do a reveal, it is the best it can be. And spoiling it in a financial report wouldn't be the right thing to do for the business. And as our investors want us to do the right thing for the business, we will have a great reveal this year, but not yet. Regarding internal development, something, basically asking about the plans for Dreamworld engine. So our plans is that we are taking the components from the Dreamworld engine and the learnings and the experience and frameworks and backend systems and making them usable together with Unreal. We did a bit of that for Conan Exiles, and we're doing that for our other games as well. This is more a question for you.
Yeah, it's how much capitalized development do you have for Q3 2018? And the answer is $3.7 million. And you find that in the cash flow statement. And there it's a line that says net cash flow from investing activities. Or actually purchase of equipment and investment in intangible assets. That's the relevant line. So it's 3.7. And that's almost only investment into games, also a bit of software and so on.
There's a question regarding partner publishing agreement in Japan, and to which extent can that be seen as margin dilutive going forward? Any partners we take on, be it through publishing deal or a distribution deal or anything like that, will of course take their fair share. So that reduces the margin, yes, but those partners allow us to reach markets that we wouldn't reach otherwise. So we use partners in order to complement our own abilities. Our specialization is on the digital sales, distribution, marketing on the Western world. So on retail in the Western world and on the rest of the world, we will try to find great partners to work with to maximize the potential of the game. But of course, those partners will have to take a share of that success. They also take some of the risk, of course. There are a couple of questions regarding investment sizes and budgets for the games going forward. We don't reveal the details of that. They are for the publishing games. They are smaller than our internal games, but we don't really say it. It's a lower investment for us. It's also the investment very often is shared with others. We don't pay the full investment. It's very case by case. So we don't really
said Conan Exiles has been $10 and $20 million.
And the large games, we've said that they've been around that range, $10 to $20 million. Our games. So the published games are smaller than that. Can you guide a bit on Mutant Year Zero? Well, if we could or wanted to, we would have done that in the report. We wouldn't do that on the live stream. So we won't give any numbers on that. It's also important for everyone to understand that this is the first game we're publishing under the new strategy. So there is also more that we will be more careful with guiding anything as it is the first. So we won't really talk about that. We think the game is has a lot of potential, but I'm biased because I like these games. Yeah, there's a question about what's a ballpark publication agreement. There is no such thing as a ballpark publication agreement. There are different developers have different needs, have different investments that they've put in, come in with different value to an agreement. We have 3 games with 3 different partners, and they all have different agreements. So we wouldn't. There is no such thing as a ballpark publication agreement. Of course, it is always somewhat proportional to the amount of investment. So if the publisher puts in more money, the publisher gets more of the revenue. If the developer puts in more money and the publisher maybe puts only marketing, then the developer gets more money. So it's always makes sense. And we try to make it be fair, but it's very case by case. What is pre-order results or indications? I assume that this is for Mutant. So for Mutant, we have pre-orders open on PC on our own website for a few months, and pre-orders on consoles have just started on one console last week, and the rest happening this week. We never comment on pre-orders. Pre-orders are also less indicative of results now than they've ever been before, especially on digital, of course. So we wouldn't talk about that. But pre-orders are a great way for players to bookmark a game. It's a bit like wishlist, but not. They have they allow people. It allows people to speak more about the game, and they're a good way to have a store page set up. And if you know that you're going to buy the game, then you get something extra for pre-ordering. Great, then go ahead and do it. But we do not see pre-orders as an indicator of future success or not of a game.
Then there's a question on receivables, the large receivables post from last quarter. What happened? And the person expected more cash, that the cash would increase more from last quarter. Yeah, so last quarter there was around 7 million in receivables. And now it is lower, yeah. So the point is, a lot of cash that was booked as a profit or result revenue last quarter was received during this quarter. But the same is still the case. The Japan launch, for instance, we haven't received the cash yet, so that is then still a receivable. And also there were costs that from the launch that wasn't paid in last quarter. For instance, royalties and so on. That
marketing costs.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Marketing costs. Yeah. Both those are quite significant, and many of those were paid in or after Q2 and in Q3, and that's why the effect is not simply the reduction of the receivables adds to cash. It's also the cost side.
Yeah. And there's a question about when will Mutant Year Zero be available for pre-order through Steam? Soon. The team is working on the remaining platforms to get pre-orders in place. Are you teaming up with streamers to promote Mutant Year Zero? Our team is working with influencers and streamers to promote all our games. So yes, that is a normal way of working on the PR and marketing side.
Yeah, that's more or less
I think
half an hour.
That's what we have. Yes.
And yeah.
As usual, if you have any additional questions, please email us at investor@funcom.com. And thank you for watching.
Yeah, thanks for watching. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye-bye.